Da satser vi på at vi kan starte. Skal vi se. Da deler jeg min skjerm. Håper jeg at alle sammen kan se den. Hvis dere ikke kan se den, si ifra i chatten, så fikser jeg det derfra. Velkommen til webinar om psykologistudier i utlandet. I dag så har vi med oss 3 universiteter. Vi har med oss Northumbria University i Newcastle. Der har vi med oss en foreleser som heter Mark Moss. Vi har også med oss James Cook University i Singapore, som et australsk universitet, og der Shelley Wang med oss. Og så har vi med oss Hawaii Pacific University fra Hawaii i USA med Mihaela Panjotova. Så jeg tenkte at jeg skulle starte litt med å fortelle litt om webinaret. Dere jo for det første alle sammen mutet, skal være. Og dere skal ikke ha på video. Det mulighet for å stille spørsmål skriftlig. Og da kan dere skrive de på engelsk, som jeg sa litt tidligere. Så jeg tenkte at vi skal gå gjennom en liten introduksjon hvem vi i Sonor, hva psykologi og så kommer de 3 universitetene og snakker litt om psykologi i sitt land og psykologi på sine universiteter. Før jeg da fortsetter med hva man kan gjøre med en psykologigrad fra utlandet, før vi da stiller spørsmålet dere har stilt. Så vi i Sonor, vi jo Study Outside Norway, skal vi se. Vi alle sammen studieveiledere som alle har studert i utlandet. Jeg har blant annet studert i Kina, Taiwan, Kambodsja, Tyskland og Frankrike i tillegg til Norge. Mens andre kollegaer har studert i USA, i Storbritannia, i Australia, i Mexico, i Skottland og litt sånn rundt omkring. Vi har kontor i Trondheim og Oslo. Jeg jobber på kontoret vårt i Oslo. Men det selvsagt mulig å velge hvilke kontor dere vil komme i kontakt med hvis dere ikke allerede i kontakt med en veileder allerede. Til sammen så har vi mer enn 60 ulike universiteter, og til sammen så tror jeg vi har 3000 forskjellige studievalg. Så hvis du ikke klarer å finne noe ved våre samarbeidsuniversiteter, så det nok vanskelig å finne den perfekte graden. All hjelp du får av oss helt gratis og helt uforpliktende. Du vil få din egen personlige veileder, enten meg eller en av mine kollegaer. Vi vil hjelpe dem å finne riktig universitet for deg og riktig grad for deg. Så hvis du på jakt etter noe veldig spesielt, så kan vi nok hjelpe dem å finne det. Vi hjelper deg også med søknaden. Vi gir deg veiledning i hvordan du skal fylle ut søknaden, altså hvilken informasjon du skal gi, hvilke dokumenter du skal sende inn. I tillegg så kjenner jo vi det økonomiske rundt å studere i utlandet ganske godt, i og med at vi alle sammen har studert i utlandet selv. Så vi har også stipender som bare gjelder for studenter som søker gjennom Sonor blant annet, pluss at vi vet hvordan dere skal søke lånekassa når den tid kommer. Og så det all sånn praktisk informasjon. Trenger du visum for å studere i utlandet, studentbolig, som sagt, også å søke lånekassen. Så vi har svar på det aller meste. Hvis du lurer på hvordan det å studere i utlandet, men ikke vil høre det fra meg, så har vi en egen side på våre nettsider, sonor.no, om hvor tidligere studenter og nåværende studenter skriver litt om hvordan det å studere i utlandet. Sånn som Maiken, som dere ser som studerer på University of Melbourne, har for eksempel lagt igjen e-postadressen sin. Så hvis jeg har veldig lyst til å stille spørsmål til Maiken, så det jo bare å sende en e-post, blant annet. Og så det store spørsmål i disse dager, korona. Per nå så det mulig å reise i Storbritannia, Singapore, USA og EU, men det litt vanskelig å komme seg inn i Australia og New Zealand fordi de har stengt grensene sine. Så hvis du interessert i ett av de 2 landene, så det mulig å blant annet utsette skolestarten hvis du hadde tenkt å starte i februar. Ellers kan du starte på studiene dine online, og så kan du reise til New Zealand eller Australia så snart grensene åpner. Så det de mulighetene som åpne for deg hvis du har lyst til å reise dit. Men hvis du velger et annet land, så det fortsatt mulig å reise inn. Så jeg tenkte jeg skulle snakke litt om hva psykologi det jo derfor dere her. Og psykologi handler jo stort sett om hvorfor mennesker tenker på en viss måte, og hvorfor vi handler på en viss måte. Psykologistudiet setter søkelys på hvorfor vi blir de personene vi er, og hvordan vi blir påvirket av andre mennesker. Psykologi, det handler om menneskers opplevelser, tanker, følelser og adferd. Vi er jo individer, men vi opptrer jo også i sosiale sammenhenger. Som psykologistudent så vil du lære om både mennesket som individ og mennesket i en mer sånn sosial sammenheng. Og innenfor psykologien så er det jo vanlig å spesialisere seg blant annet. Og de vanligste spesialiseringene vi ser folk ender opp med er barne- og ungdomspsykologi, arbeidspsykologi, eldrepsykologi, familiepsykologi, ruspsykologi og samfunnspsykologi. Hva alle disse spesifikke spesialiseringene er, det skal jeg ikke gå inn nærmere på her, men det er forslag til ting dere kan søke opp hvis dere er interessert i mer spesifikk informasjon. Så hvem passer psykologistudiet for? Du må like mennesker. Det er dumt å jobbe med andre mennesker hvis du ikke liker mennesker i seg selv. Det er også viktig at du har gode kommunikasjonsevner, og at du liker å samarbeide med folk. I tillegg så er det jo viktig at du tenker litt analytisk og liker å løse oppgaver. Men så må du også være god til å holde på hemmeligheter. Det er rett og slett fordi store deler av jobben din kommer til å være taushetsbelagt. Og da er det ikke noe å komme hjem til fremtidig kjæreste og sitte og snakke om klienter ved middagsbordet. Da må man faktisk klare å holde det litt atskilt. Og det er jo også en ting som er viktig, at du klarer å skille mellom privatliv og jobbliv, at du ikke trekker med deg privatlivet inn i jobben. Så hvor kan man egentlig studere psykologi? I Norge så kan man studere det på UiO, UiB, UiT og NTNU. Så da er det i Oslo, Bergen, Tromsø og Trondheim. Men som dere sikkert vet, så er det veldig, veldig vanskelig å få opptak. I Oslo så er det jo 17 søkere per plass, og det er bare de som søker på første plass. Så hvis du tar med alle de som tar på andre, tredje, fjerde plass nedover, så er det ganske mange som søker per plass. Det betyr jo at snittet går oppover. Så i år så jeg at det var 56,2 poeng for å komme inn på psykologiprofesjon rett fra videregående i Oslo. Så det er relativt vanskelig å komme inn. Men heldigvis, da har man studier i utlandet, og da finnes det veldig mange bra steder man kan studere, sånn som våre 3 samarbeidspartnere som er med her i dag. Så da kommer Mark Moss, som er foreleser i Northumbria, til å starte nå. Mark, would you like to continue?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. And I am delighted to have been invited to speak to you this afternoon. My name is Mark, as you just heard. I'm head of the psychology department at Northumbria University. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit about psychology in the UK, and then about psychology at Northumbria University, why I think it's a particularly good place to study, and some of the prospects for graduates that leave our programs, and also about perhaps some of the things that make it unique at Northumbria compared to other universities. So first of all, myself, head of the psychology department, I've been at Northumbria nearly 30 years, but the beginning of those 30 years was in fact as an undergraduate psychology student. I spent 10 years in manufacturing industry management before returning to university to study psychology. And once I started, I got the taste for it and I never left. And so I'm still at Northumbria now, and I've eventually, worked my way up to being head of department. I've been head of department, in fact, for the last 12 years. And I've overseen a period of considerable growth and success of the Department of Psychology at Northumbria. I'm very proud of the department. And it makes me very happy to be able to speak to you about what I think is a fantastic place to study. I'll give you a little bit of an insight in terms of the research that I do as well, the sorts of things that I'm interested in. My main area of research, I'm interested in the effects of the aromas of essential oils of plants. So I'm very interested in how perhaps what you might call natural remedies might influence the psychology of individuals. My particular focus, my particular perhaps favorite plant, if you like, is rosemary, the herb rosemary. Rosemary is a herb that has been associated with memory, going back as far as the ancient Egyptians and ancient Greeks. And although it has this reputation of being associated with memory, the amount of psychological and other research that's been done on it is very, very small. Very small indeed. And I started perhaps 10 years ago. No, a bit more than that now. Getting on for 15, perhaps I should think 15 years ago, investigating whether the aroma of rosemary essential oil can actually affect the way that people's memory works. And in a number of studies with a number of populations, I've done school children, healthy adults, old people, found that, yes, there is the possibility to actually improve our memories through inhaling the aroma of rosemary herb, which I think is a fascinating thing. One of these things that has been overlooked for the last century, perhaps, but in terms of our acquired knowledge, of human knowledge acquired over the centuries, it's something that has been widely written about in ancient pharmacopoeia texts about the usefulness of herbs. So that's my main area of research, and that chimes well with other research that we do in Northumbria, as I'll talk about a little bit later. Of course, as an academic, I also do teaching, and I am pleased to say that I have actually taught on every single program that we deliver in the psychology department at some time or other over the last 25 years or so. Currently, I have two things that I teach about mostly. One is research methods, so helping students learn how to actually conduct research in the psychology lab and also analyse the data that they get from their research. This is a really enjoyable part of the job because all students enjoy getting involved in research. It's what psychology is all about, really, trying to find out how people work, things that will change behaviour, and the reasons behind different behaviour. So I really enjoy teaching what we call labs to the students, and I also enjoy teaching them how to analyse the data, which, if I'm honest, is probably the students' least favourite aspect of the course. Statistics is something that never rates particularly highly on the popularity stakes, but it's an essential part of all students' learning. I also teach at the moment a final year option module on alcoholism. Clearly, alcoholism is a problem the world over, and it is, of course, a problem that also dates back as long as written records. So it's something that we've known about for a long time, but is still a problem for society today. And I look at the wide ranging of psychological aspects that might be associated with its development, and also aspects to do with its treatment as well. And that's always a popular option module for our final year students. So that's probably enough about me. Let me talk a little bit about psychology in the UK. Psychology in the UK is one of the most important areas of psychological research and study in the world. We have a very, very long history of psychological research in the UK, and our British Psychological Society, which is the society that oversees and, if you like, accredits all the stuff that's done in the UK, this was formed way back in 1901, at the very birth of psychology as an academic discipline and an area of research and study. So we are very, very well established in the field as a country in terms of historical knowledge about psychology. And I think that that's really important, that we have been doing this for so long that we're actually very, very well established, and we know what we're doing when it comes to research and teaching in psychology. This is I think, also noticeable, if you look at universities in the UK, every university in the UK offers psychology as an undergraduate area of study. And that's not by any accident. It's because it's so well established and because also it is so popular in the UK. Lots of students want to come and study psychology, not necessarily because they want to actually go on to be psychologists, but also because psychology is a really good discipline to study for a wide range of different career paths. And I think that that's something that's always important when considering studying psychology as well. It is very, very good if you want to go into management, if you want to go into advertising, if you want to go into teaching, if you want to go into business. The skills that you develop on a psychology program are really, really good in the career markets in a range of different areas. And that's very well recognized in the UK as well, which is another reason why it's so popular. I mentioned the British Psychological Society, and they are very important in terms of the quality of degrees that universities offer regarding psychology. The British Psychological Society accredits, they give their stamp of approval to quality programs in the UK. And all of our programs at Northumbria in psychology are accredited by the British Psychological Society, which demonstrates the quality of the provision that we have. And this is something that I am very proud of as well. And so we are one of the leading deliverers of psychology in the UK in terms of student numbers. We have a very large cohort. Indeed, at the moment, our student cohort stands at around 1,700 students. So gradually, or perhaps rapidly approaching 2,000 students who are spread across a range of undergraduate programs, postgraduate talk programs, research programs, and also a distance learning program. And as I say, these are accredited by the British Psychological Society, which is a mark of their quality. So, what makes psychology interesting at Northumbria and might make it something that appeals to you over other universities? The wide range of programs, I think, is one thing that is really beneficial, because it means that if you came to Northumbria to study as an undergraduate or as a postgraduate, you would be getting to mix with a very wide range of different students on different courses who are looking to specialize in different areas. This means that we've got a community of learning that is vibrant, that is active, and that has a very wide range of interests. So there's always something going on. There's always talks from specialists from various different research groups or external speakers, or indeed students who are doing their own research at Northumbria that you can get involved in, that you can talk to people about. And so you can learn about the wide range, the huge range of stuff that's going on in psychology whilst being at Northumbria, and not thinking, well, I would like to know something about this area, but there doesn't seem to be anything going on at Northumbria. Pretty well anything that you want to be doing, there will be something going on in psychological terms at Northumbria because of the wide range of programs that we have. Our major undergraduate programs, we have a single honours BSc Honours Psychology program, and we also have a BSc Honours Psychology with Criminology major minor program. And these are the main two undergraduate programs that we offer to students, and they are very popular. The Psychology with Criminology program is not to be confused with forensic psychology. Criminology is a sociological field of study, and the criminology element of that program is delivered by a social sciences department at the university. But that program, like our single honours, is accredited by the British Psychological Society. So it still gives you the route into a psychology profession in the UK, should you be interested in such a thing. I mentioned our postgraduate programs, and I think it's important to take note of them. We have accredited programs in sport and exercise psychology, health psychology, and occupational psychology. So for students who wish to follow careers in those particular routes, they can go on to the next level and stay at Northumbria. And these are, again, popular postgraduate programs with about 30 students on each program, which is around our limit for those programs. And they go on to have careers that are very successful in their chosen domains, which I'm very, very pleased to see. In terms of undergraduate study, the most important thing for me is student ownership of their program. I believe that when you come to university, you should have the opportunity to direct your studies in the way that you want to. You all have your own ideas about the things that you want to do, and if you turn up to university and you have a limited number of modules or courses that you study throughout your degree, then I think that this can hamper your style a little bit. So we've engineered our undergraduate program to give you the most choice that we possibly can. So when you are in the first year of study, about just after Christmas, you have the opportunity to make choices for modules you wish to study in the second year. And we have a very wide range of option modules. And we've designed the option modules so that actually, if you are interested in forensic psychology, you can choose options for your second year of study that will take you on a forensic psychology pathway. Or if you're interested in clinical psychology, you can take modules in the second year that will take you on a clinical psychology pathway. So we have 6 different pathways that you can select from should you have a specialist area that interests you. If you're interested in psychology generally, then you can pick options from all the different pathways and not specialize on one. Or you might not be sure when you start which area you're interested in, and you might choose for your second year of study an option from the health psychology pathway and another one from the business psychology pathway. And during your second year of study, you make the decision, yes, it's business psychology I'm interested in, so my options in the third year, I will select from the business psychology pathway. The important thing about these pathways is that through the selection of your options, through your choices, through your ownership of what you want to study, you can leave Northumbria with a degree award that shows that specialism. So you can come out with a BSc Honours Psychology and then in brackets, business psychology, or health psychology, or clinical psychology, which demonstrates the specialism that you've chosen to follow. And I think this is a really important element so that you're always at the center of your learning, which I think is really important. Equally, you will have to do a project at the end of your final year of undergraduate study, or a thesis if it's postgraduate study. Again, I believe that choice is the essence of success in these projects or theses. So every student is given the opportunity to pick the topic, the study that they want to do. So it doesn't matter what it is, we will support you in doing it, as long as it is something that can be done ethically and something that can be done within the time scale of the project or thesis module. We will support you to do it. So we don't tell you what to do your research on. We don't give you a limited choice of things that you can do your research on. We ask you, what do you want to do your research on? We will then match you up with a supervisor who has a shared interest in that particular area, or a supervisor like myself who is happy to supervise any area at all of psychology, because we want you to be in charge of this. My experience as an academic means that I might not be a specialist in your chosen area, but I will have the skills required to make sure that you can succeed in your research. And again, an important element, choice, ownership of your studies. We have some other things that I think are equally important. in terms of choice. We have a placement scheme for undergraduate students. So you can choose a placement in the area that you're particularly interested in and then spend some time. These placements occur during your course of study. So you don't take a year out to do a placement, you do your placement along with other modules. And you might spend 6-7 hours a week working on a placement to get work experience in an area that is associated with perhaps your career goals for when you leave. So you can map your placement experience up with your option choices to give you a really rounded degree experience that will be valued by future employers. Now, I'm talking to you in Norway, and so you would in fact be studying abroad if you came to Newcastle to study, but we also have a study abroad program for students who are at Northumbria. So if you were to do an undergraduate degree at Northumbria, you would be able to in fact opt to take a year of that degree studying in another country. And we typically have students who go to the United States or to Australia. These are the most two popular for a year of international study as part of their degree. If you're interested particularly in business, there is an opportunity to do an extra year and an additional year, which is an international year in business, which is co-taught at our campus in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. So it would be an opportunity to study there as well as here and add this extra international year of business to your overall degree qualification, which again is something that is, I think, a fantastic opportunity to broaden your experience. What else is it then, apart from the courses that we have, that makes Northumbria University a really exciting place to study? The staff. We have a fantastic, energized team of highly qualified, research active staff, people who are working at the cutting edge of psychological knowledge. And you will be interacting and being taught by these people who are publishing regular new research in the areas in which they teach. And I think that this is a really good experience for you to have this interaction with leaders in the field on a daily basis. You will have one of them as a personal guidance tutor who will also see you through your degree and be there to help you with any problems that you might have. But the whole team really, really work well to support students and to ensure that they get the best experience that they do. But it's not just the staff, it's the students as well. The students are keen to help one another. We have an active team of student mentors who set themselves up each year, set up workshops to help students in the first year or the second year of their studies with advice on an informal basis. Sometimes students don't want to go to academic members of staff. They want to talk to another student who's been through the process, had the module, been taught, and just get a bit of informal advice. And so we have those that are really helpful as well for the students, which I think is a really useful thing for people to have. We've got fantastic teaching labs that have been purpose-built for the Department of Psychology so that you can go in and work in teams, work on groups on small research projects, which is a really, really important thing of developing your research skills. You start on research day one, first year, and you will be studying, you will have a research class where you're developing your research skills, testing people, gathering data of quantitative and qualitative nature throughout the first year, throughout the second year, and in the third year into your project. This is a really fun thing to do. You're guided by expert staff. The university itself has got a fantastic student union, fantastic sports centre, fantastic library. And if you need any better reason to study at Northumbria, it's got to be that it's in the centre of Newcastle upon Tyne, which is consistently rated the #1 city in the United Kingdom for the best student experience. Students love it. It's got a great nightlife. It's got excellent travel connections, rail, road, air, sea. And the experience that you will have living in Newcastle, I can guarantee will be second to none. And many students who come to Newcastle never actually want to leave because it is such a lovely place to live. It's close to the Northumbrian countryside, close to the beaches, though I wouldn't want to be on the beach on a day quite as cold as today, but it is a really, really nice place to live. Where can you go with a degree from Northumbria in psychology? Well, because we have these accredited programs, if you're interested in clinical, occupational, health, sport, forensic, counselling, you've got the first thing that you need, the first step in the way to those careers in the United Kingdom. And this is really, really important. And
Mark,
we have...
your time. You are a little bit over your time right now.
A little bit over. I'm at, well, yeah. I'm very well, I've sort of, I'll tell you what, I'll round it up. So I do tend to run off at the mouth once I start talking. So we have a number of successful graduates and a range of specialist areas and research teams that will support you throughout your studies. As I am slightly over time, and I could go on, I will stop now. Thank you for being a welcoming audience, and I'm looking forward to any questions that you might have later.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark. It's been very, very interesting to sit there and listen to you for the last 20 minutes or so. Vi går da videre til Shelley, som jobber ved James Cook University i Singapore. James Cook University er jo et australsk universitet, men som har campus i Singapore. Og det som er unikt med JCU er blant annet at man kan ta en bachelorgrad på 2 år i stedet for 3, slik som er normalt. Shelley, will you unmute yourself? Wonderful.
Hi everyone. Hello from Singapore. It's local time, 1:38 a.m. on Friday. I'm very excited. I'm on my 4th cup of coffee today, so I hope I bring some excitement to you over there in cold Norway. By the way, it's about 26 degrees now Celsius in Singapore, so don't envy. I'll try to pack my presentation in 15 minutes, so I'll start now. So just a very quick introduction to the university that I represent. We are James Cook University, an Australian government university. It's very easy to remember us. You can remember us as 1, 2, 3. So we are one university established in 2 countries with 3 tropical locations. And these 3 tropical locations are in Townsville, Cairns, and Singapore. Both Townsville and Cairns are located in North Queensland in Australia, and Singapore being a city campus of James Cook University is located outside of Australia. The university is ranked at the top 2% of universities worldwide. We have some number 1s and number 2s in the world. And in terms of the ranking in Singapore, we are also highly recognized by the Singapore government. We are the only Australian institution gaining university status in Singapore, and we have EduTrust Star accreditation as well. In terms of experience of the 3 campuses, we are vastly different. So as some of you may know, Townsville is the 10th biggest city in Australia. Cairns is a wonderful and beautiful surfing paradise with great barriers very close to the campus. Singapore, if you have been here, you would probably have a very different picture in your mind right now. So just imagine any major metropolis in Asia, then you get Singapore. So I suppose everyone has images about the UK and Hawaii in your mind, but not necessarily Singapore. So I thought I'd spend a minute or so to draw some first impressions of Singapore for those of you who have not been here before. So to start with, I'd like to share that Singapore is the gateway to Asia, connecting Asia and Oceania. So if you see here, Singapore is actually very, very tiny. It's one of the 3 city-states in the world. That means we are a city as well as a country. Actually, you can't really see Singapore on the map. It's just one little dot at the end of the Malacca Peninsula in here. We have Malaysia to our north and Indonesia over here. They've got many islands Indonesia. And as you can see, we are literally in the middle, connecting Asia. Right over here, China is here, India is here. So we connect Asia and Oceania. So there you go, you see Australia. Oops. You see Australia here and New Zealand here. It's extremely easy for us to travel. It takes you about, well, literally you can just take a bus to cross the border to arrive in Malaysia, or you can take a ferry to go to many of the islands in Indonesia. So we always spend, our weekend in Indonesia, getting massages or have some cheap food in there. It's always very wonderful. You can easily fly to Bangkok in 2 hours or Bali in 2 hours. You can explore Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, easily for you to get to China or Hong Kong, Taiwan, and it's all only 4 hours away from Perth, Australia as well. So again, if you ever visit Singapore, stay in this region, make sure that you do lots of traveling. Here is just some pictures of, and some of them actually were taken by our students, traveling all around Asia, in Vietnam, in Thailand, in the Philippines. These pictures are really Singapore. Yeah. And the food is amazing as well in Asia. So if you are not a huge fan of spicy food, you can always ask for non-spicy stuff. And here officially some images of Singapore. So if you do get a chance to come visit Singapore, make sure you visit Marina Bay Sands area and the Gardens by the Bay. So these two on the right are man-made, really, and they're just wonderful and magical, especially at night. And Singapore is definitely a cultural melting pot, and it's also an example that racial harmony actually can exist. So in Singapore, we have 4 official languages and we celebrate different cultures all year round, predominantly the 4 major cultures. As you can see from this picture, you've got 3 little boys, got Chinese, Indian, Malay, and European. But we actually have the 4th so-called dominant race that is Eurasian, so basically a mix of European and Asian. And as our national pledge goes, we, the citizens of Singapore, pledge ourselves as one united people, regardless of race, language, or religion, to build a democratic society based on justice and equality, so as to achieve happiness, prosperity, and progress for our nation. So actually, from a psychology study point of view, within a culturally diverse country, you could get a deeper understanding of the biological, social, and cultural factors that influence how humans think, feel, and behave. For example, it's very common in Singapore to see places of worship just next to each other. In the bottom picture, you will see a Chinese temple to the left, a church, a Christian church in the middle, and a mosque on the right. So this is very common in Singapore, and we do respect each other, and we are great friends. And you will meet a lot of different people in class as well if you ever get to come over and join us. And some of you may know that Singapore as a country, we started with 0 natural resources. So even without drinkable water actually, and we literally buy water from Malaysia. If you are interested about that fact, you can Google about it. So nowadays, the main industries in Singapore are financial services, IT services, consumer electronics, pharmaceuticals, and there's a favorable climate investment, foreign investment as well. So being the bridge for the East and West, there are many global companies with regional headquarters in here. And I've listed a few in here, like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Json, and the list just goes on. And I have also listed some Norwegian companies on the top left in here. So these companies actually have offices in Singapore too, like Telenor, Nordea, etc. There are huge different European communities in here. So Norwegian, Swedish, Danish, French, German being the largest actually. So you will meet many people from Europe, And back to these companies. So all these companies create jobs in Singapore, as you can imagine. And for many positions, the companies actually want to hire graduates with psychology background and knowledge, like job positions in media, in market research, in advertising, public relations, human resources, etc. You could become an entrepreneur too with a psychology degree. Don't forget, Mark Zuckerberg was studying business and psychology before he dropped out of Harvard and started Facebook. So of course, other than working in corporate companies as a graduate from psychology, you can also pursue a diverse range of careers in government and human services organizations and health sectors as well. And here at James Cook University, particularly in Singapore campus, we offer Bachelor of Arts majoring in psychology. And there is another choice that is a Bachelor of Psychological Science program. So it's more inclined to the clinical psychology area. So I am no professional in psychology, so I would like to always use layman terms, and I would like to think or consider the science stream of the psychology program a lot more hardcore psychology comparing to the arts stream. In the science stream, there are tough subjects like statistics, and usually at every level. And again, statistics is usually not loved by the students. But a career in clinical psychology can be very, very fulfilling and rewarding. So you can check out the chart on the left to see the career progression of a clinical psychologist practitioner, and see what the career areas that they can into. They can either do direct practicing, or they can focus more on research or even teaching, management, or education. So again, this progression chart can be applied perhaps generally in many countries, but do consult with Sono, a study outside Norway team, about the requirement to practice psychology back home in Norway. Okay, in here, so if you ask me why choose JCU to study psychology, my answer will be that we are as recognized as the National University of Singapore in clinical psychology area. As you can see from this table, National University of Singapore, in short, NUS, and JCU are the only two institutions recommended to study for becoming clinical psychologists in Singapore. So this information is provided by Social Service Tribe, which is an organization supported by the Singapore National Council of Social Service. As you may already heard, National University of Singapore ranks as the #1 university in Asia Pacific area and ranks number 22nd in the world, according to Times Higher Education. Of course, there is a very low quota for international students at NUS, meaning extremely difficult to get in. But JCU welcomes international students, and we don't set any student quota for any of our programs. So one more interesting thing about psychology in JCU is that we have a psychology clinic on campus, and that clinic is open to public. So the psychological services from the clinic are provided by our own students who are completing postgraduate practical training to qualify as clinical psychologists. So these intern clinical psychologists work under the direction of the clinic manager, who is also employed as our lecturer, and are supervised by qualified clinical psychologists. So make sure you request to schedule a tour around the psychology clinic when you visit us. The academic team at JCU is actually very, very diverse, just as our student population. By the way, 70% of our students are international. So I guess you can't just get more mixed than that. The head of our campus, Professor Chris Rudd OBE, so he is from the UK, Our campus dean, Professor Abhishek, is from Singapore, and our research dean, Professor Dean Jerry, is from Australia. You can spot a few psychology lecturers from this list as well. Lydia is from Spain. Adam is from Australia. Smita is from India. Smita is from India. Peter is from Singapore. Let me see what else. Yeah, of course, here Bridget is from the US, and Jonathan is from the UK as well. So in here, you can see the stars in here. So Jonathan is actually our head of academic group psychology. So he holds a Bachelor of Psychology and Physiology from the University of Oxford, and a Doctor of Philosophy in Psychology from the Nanyang Technological University in Singapore. His research interests particularly span areas of personality and social psychology, with a particular emphasis on the psychology of religion, including the consequences of religious belief and non-belief, and the relationships between personality, attitudes, and well-being. So all of our full-time lecturers at JCU are required to be research active. You can check out all of our lecturers' profile and their research interests directly from our website. Just type in staff profile, you will get to see all of their backgrounds and moving on. Okay, so basically Sona asked me, I'm studying outside Norway, asked me to include some bonus points in my sharing. So I thought I'd mention about our unique trimester study system. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but in short, students enrolled in bachelor degrees at James Cook University in Singapore generally need to spend only 2 years to finish their bachelor program because of the trimester system. How it works is that we run 3 terms a year instead of 2 terms a year. So we cut down on some days from your summer or winter holidays. But literally we don't have winter holiday because it's summer all year round. In Singapore, we are almost on the equator, so there's only summer here. So this way, by running the trimester system, international students can actually save on accommodation and living costs abroad. And we can also graduate earlier and start earning a full-time income earlier. So as you can see, particularly how a trimester system will look like. So it's going to be a 15-week term, and typically 10 weeks of study, 1 week of study break, a week of exam prep, and 2 weeks of exams, followed by about 2 to 3 weeks break in between terms. So that's how you get a trimester done. This is my second last slide. So I just wanted to touch more about living in Singapore, because Singapore has the reputation of consistently being ranked as the most expensive city to live in. So just in case you raised the question to me, I decided to talk about it first. So, but you know, who says that you cannot live in this fantastic city and not save money and time? Don't forget, you will never need to drive a car in Singapore. Basically, accommodation and private owned cars are most expensive in Singapore, because again, Singapore is extremely small. That's why land is expensive, and roads are short, so we don't want as many cars. So for people like me, normal people like me, I don't need to drive because Singapore also has the #1 city infrastructure in the world. Trains and buses usually run on 5 to 7 minutes intervals, and it's always clean and on time. Even taxi will only cost you a fraction of what it is in Norway. Food is also very cheap in Singapore in general, but of course you can definitely eat like a king or queen in here. So I personally spend about 35 Norwegian kroners for lunch every day, and for less than 30 Norwegian kroner, you can actually enjoy a meal at one of the cheapest Michelin one-star restaurant in Singapore. Just check out Hokkachan. I'll type the name in the chat later on, so you can go about that as well. It's extremely delicious. So back to living cost. So comparing to a few year or 4 year study abroad experience in London or New York, you can expect to spend at least 120,000 kroner to 250,000 kroner less. And if you are a Norwegian student, you are even luckier because you are most likely to be eligible for the government funding at Northumbria. So again, Sonotim is an expert on that, and you just need to speak to them about it to find out more about how to finance your study abroad. So I think my time is up, so I just wanted to stop in here. If you want to find out more, do follow us on Instagram. If you're active on Instagram, you can follow us at JC_study abroad or at JC Singapore, or else you can go to Sono's website and check out more about JCU. Again, we have many other programs as well if you're interested. And type in any questions you may have for me. Thanks again for your time. I'll say bye for now.
Thank you very much, Shelly. Da begynner vi å nærme oss slutten. Jeg skal avslutte med noen siste slides. Skal vi se om jeg får åpnet opp de. Skal vi se. Da har vi kommet til riktig sted, håper jeg. Så det jeg kanskje vil snakke litt ekstra nøye om autorisasjon. Så hvis man velger å studere psykologi, så vil man jo gjerne ha muligheten til å jobbe som psykolog etterpå. Dessverre så det jo slik at en psykologigrad fra utlandet vil ikke gi deg autorisasjon som psykolog i Norge. Det fordi at Helsedirektoratet har satt veldig strenge regler for hvem som kan søke om bruk av denne titelen. Slik det nå, så må du studere enten Norge, Sverige, Danmark, Finland eller Island for å få en psykologtitel godkjent i Norge. Det finnes jo en liten sånn omvei å ta for eksempel en klinisk mastergrad i Danmark etter å ha studert en bachelorgrad i et engelskspråklig land for å få autorisasjon. Det slik at hvis du får autorisasjon i et av de nordiske landene, så får du autorisasjon i Norge også. Så det her står jo litt på skjermen om hva en autorisasjon og det rett og slett en godkjennelse for å bruke en bestemt yrkestitel. Og det betyr at du har oppnådd alle de kravene som stilles for deg for å utøve dette yrket. Men når det sagt, så går det an å bruke en psykologigrad i utlandet i Norge. For eksempel så kan du jo velge å bli psyko- eller samtaleterapeut. Da jobber du på mange måter med akkurat det samme som en psykolog gjør. Du får bare ikke lov til å kalle deg psykolog. Så det jo en samtaleterapeut eller en psykoterapeut, den behandler jo problemer med samtale. Du kan jobbe da privatpraksiserende, altså du kan åpne opp din egen klinikk hvis du ønsker det, eller så kan du slå deg sammen med en psykolog eller med andre samtaleterapeuter, og ha din egen klinikk hvor du da vil hjelpe andre med å snakke om sine problemer. Et annet alternativ å jobbe med barn og unge, og da det for eksempel barnevern som veldig populært. Da går det an å spesialisere seg i psykologi mot barn, blant annet. Eller så går det an å jobbe som miljøterapeut, som psykologutdannet eller psykologiutdannet. Og da vil jo du kunne jobbe på skolen, du vil kunne da ta tak i problem tidlig, ikke sant? For du jo en av de som vil treffe barna mest ved siden av senga som de ligger og drar seg i om kvelden og morgenen. Et annet alternativ jo organisasjonspsykologi eller psykologi og business, som ble nevnt av blant annet Northumbria. Og da det mange ting du kan jobbe med innenfor en organisasjon. Du kan for eksempel jobbe for å ha mer effektive systemer innad i bedriften. Eller så kan du jobbe med ansettelser blant annet. Da blir det mer mot HR. Og det jo mange store firmaer som ansetter folk med psykologibakgrunn, rett og slett fordi en psykologiutdannet har en forståelse for hvordan folk tar avgjørelser, altså forbrukeradferd. Og det er veldig nyttig når du skal selge varer, eller du skal forstå et marked. Skal vi se.